All right, it's Gary from FitnessFirstNutrition.com here, back with another video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. In this video, we're going to be looking at the housing market, and this is the Clear Value Text channel, and we're going to just react to what he has to say about the market. Stocks are down today, so let's see what's going on.
Monetary policy, what the consequences of that is, and also whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, and also predictions. So let's start off with this. When looking at home prices at a national level, you have to realize that home prices are not crashing. As a matter of fact, home prices are up 1.5% compared to last year. I just want to address the people that are going to say that you can't look at it at a national level. So I'll just say, don't worry, we're going to break this down into regions as well. But you have to understand that if home prices are down 5% in one area, then in another area, home prices are up by 6.5%. So I just want to point out the fact that home affordability is at record lows. Now, I want you to take a look at this. So housing market activity is at historic lows. In August of 2025, 460,000 homes were sold. So that's 2.5% fewer than 12 months ago. But that's 31% lower compared to 5 years ago. In August of 2020, 672,000 homes were sold. So now we're at 460,000, a big difference. So this begs the question, why is this happening? Why is the housing market so sluggish? So first, as I showed you, home prices are still very expensive. And the second thing is that mortgage interest rates are still elevated, relatively speaking, compared to when we were in the 3% or sub 3% range. So this shows the average mortgage interest rate on a 30-year fixed, and this is presented by the Federal Reserve. Right now, we're still above 6%. Therefore, it's the higher home prices and higher mortgage interest rates that have caused home affordability to fall, resulting in such a slow housing market. Now, the big question is, will mortgage interest rates drop from here, maintain in this range, or actually even go up from here? Here's what you need to know to clear up the confusion. The Federal Reserve cut the Fed funds interest rate on September 17th from 4.5% to 4.25%. So there's a tiny cut. They only cut it by 0.25%, a quarter point. But just so you know, the Federal Reserve gives projections, and they're saying that they want to cut interest rates gradually over the next 3 years. So let me show you. This is straight from the Federal Reserve's newest projection. Right now, as I said, the Fed funds interest rate's at 4.25%. They are projecting that they're going to cut the interest rate down to 3.0% to 3.25% by the end of 2028. Now, to give you some context, when mortgage interest rates were 3% or sub 3%, the Fed funds interest rate was at 0% to 0.25%. Therefore, according to the Federal Reserve's projections, it's going to be a slow interest rate cutting cycle. Now, I want to give you my opinion. Mortgage interest rates are correlated to the interest rate on 10-year government treasury notes. So basically what I'm saying is that mortgage interest rates depends on the interest rates on government debts, especially the 10-year. So if the interest rate on the 10-year goes down, then mortgage interest rates are going to go down. If they go up, then you can expect mortgage interest rates to go up. Okay, here's the thing. This is so important to know. I want you to know that the Federal Reserve cut interest rates in 2024, and the interest rates on the 10-year yield, I mean, take a look at the chart. It didn't do anything. The 10-year yield remained range-bound. And as a matter of fact, the interest rate on 10-year interest rates does not mean that mortgage interest rates will drop significantly. Now, this is where I give you my opinion. So there's that saying, most people have probably heard of it, that...
So they have dropped the interest rates, which will ultimately, as we repeat over and over, as we know, it's going to lead to more inflation. So everything's just going to get higher. So the price of homes are already going up, even though everybody's broke. And so the price of homes are going up already. If you cut interest rates, which will bring new money into the market, more people will just buy homes, and they're going to buy them and then at higher and higher prices. That's just the way it goes. When interest gets cut, more money enters the system because the banks are more willing to lend, and then the price of everything, including homes, go up. So the average price of a home is going to go up from $30,000, which is absurd, to we might be looking at $500,000 for average price of a home. That's just the average. That's factoring in small houses in the inner city, rundown homes, big houses. So it factors everything in. So I mean, the entry price for a piece of shit, excuse my language, but for a piece of shit is probably about $70,000 on a house that you have to put $80,000, $90,000 into. But let's go.
The Federal Reserve does not control mortgage interest rates, but in my belief, that is not true, or at least not properly stated. I think that the proper thing to say is that the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates will not lower mortgage interest rates. However, cutting interest rates is not the only tool of the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve, they can do quantitative easing, they can expand their balance sheet, they can flood the financial system with money. And yes, they can easily bring down mortgage interest rates if they wanted to. So it's my suspicion that the economy will degrade next year, and the Federal Reserve will be forced to react with their monetary policy, and it's going to cause much lower interest rates in 2026. QE, balance sheet expansion, on top of much more aggressive rate cuts with Trump's new Federal Reserve chair. So that's just my prediction. Will rates go down as low as 3%? I mean, it just depends on how aggressive their monetary policy is going to become. Now, I just want you to think about that. If the Federal Reserve aggressively eases their monetary policy, then what's going to happen to home prices? What will be the consequences? My prediction is that home prices are going to either remain flat or they're going to go up higher. So, in other words, I'm expecting that we're not going to have a housing market crash. If the economy degrades, then naturally home prices would go down. They should go down. However, if the Federal Reserve comes to the rescue, then that's going to either prevent a crash or it'll cause a V-shaped.
So they're going to prevent it. They're going to come in. They're going to prop up the economy. They've been propping up the economy for decades at this point. So they're not going to allow a crash. A crash would have to be something like 2008, like where you just can't help it. Like the system just literally collapses in on itself. Everybody has all these credit default swaps, and they done repackaged all these mortgages and resold them here and there, and letting people get into homes that they provide no financial proof that they can afford. So we don't necessarily have that. So without a unstoppable crash, they're going to prop this thing up. I don't know how much longer this thing can go. I mean, it's pretty much a house of cards at this point, and the more we build it up, the harder the fall is going to be at the end. We will be in more debt. There will be the U.S. dollar will be worth less. That's just where we're headed at. So home prices will either, like he said, they will remain the same, or they're going to go up because they're going to cut interest rate. They're going to go back to quantitative easing, which is not a Trump thing. It's not a Democrat Republican thing. It's a everybody does it thing. You know, they did it from when Obama was there to through Biden. Oh man, in trouble. Anyway, let me know what you think. How do you own a home? Do you plan on selling a home? I see a lot of people don't want to sell their homes because of the interest rate. Like they're already locked in at one interest rate. So if they sell their home and have to pick up another mortgage, then they'll have a higher interest rate, which, one interest point I believe is extra $100 per month on the mortgage. So that's 3 points. That's $300 a month. That's $3,600 a year. So anyway, let me know, how's everything going for you. Do you own a home? Are you selling a home? Are you priced out of the market? Will you ever be able to afford a home? Is that still the American dream? I'll take any of those comments below. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.